Alright everyone, the moralists are coming once again, this time with Twitter. Jack on Twitter is vowing to wipe out the evil supremacists that use the platform. See, now they've decided to go full Inquisition. You're guilty until proven innocent, number one. You have been for some time with some of these groups. It's like they're laying the groundwork to kick as many people off as they can that they find inconvenient. Trust me, it's all about money. It's about advertisers. They don't want people that are slightly edgy on Twitter anymore, because if you're edgy, well, the advertisers will think that it's like a Nazi-friendly site. You know, so the advertisers are just trying to get more money. They're trying to kick off people who are independent and have large audiences, especially because we're their fucking competitors. We're directly competing with the legacy media. People like PewDiePie and Neistat directly compete with legacy entertainment. What more need you know? Those groups are trying to get their streaming bundles on these sites. They don't want us here anymore. They don't want to compete with us. It's all about fucking money. You think that Jack or any other person at Twitter cares about the morality of the situation? You think in a million years that they want to waste their time going to other websites in order to look for evidence of wrong? Think, oh, well, this person said something dubious on another website. You know, how, by the way, are you even going to tell that their account is actually theirs? How are you, within a legal framework, how are you supposed to objectively tell so you don't get sued for defamation or something else under the sun? How exactly do you intend to do this? That's my question. Like, let's say that somebody makes a fake account of Casey Neistat, plops it on, you know, some racist website, starts them out, yeah, Hitler this, oh, the Jews. And then, you know, somebody reports this to Twitter's staff, and then his account gets deleted. Now, it might only be temporarily deleted. He might immediately say, well, that's not my account. How are you supposed to tell? And by the way, that's a workaround for anyone that actually does have accounts on these sites. Well, it's not mine. What are you talking about? That's just someone trying to defame me, and, you know, there's nothing I can do about it. The site, you think that, like, the Daily Stormer or something is going to cooperate with Twitter, tell them who's actually using the account? It's not going to work. Mr. Medicare had a suggestion. For legal purposes, I won't openly endorse this, but I think it's an interesting idea. Making fake accounts of people who have, like, hard-hitting Twitter accounts on, you know, dubious websites, and then basically spreading discord by talking in a racist manner. Yeah, that could work. See, the problem is Twitter is not running those sites. They may not have a way to know whether those accounts are actually them. In which case, they either have to ban all of these people, or they have to show that they're going to discriminate against, you know, alt figures in favor of mainstream figures. Like, they'll give the benefit of the doubt to you because you're a pundit at MSNBC, but they're not going to give you the benefit of the doubt even though you've got, like, you know, 5 million subs on YouTube. Screw you. You're part of alt media. You're part of alt entertainment. You're a different class of people. Or they're just going to have to give up the whole friggin' plan. And I guess that's the hope. The hope is, can we, at some point, we got to start getting tired of all the bullshit censorship. None of these firms are doing it for a moral reason. They're being leaned on by advertisers. This is why the ad-driven internet is such a terrible, terrible idea. Because what should be happening is these sites should be applauding us, the alt industries that are cropping up, for being independent and efficient, bring a huge amount of exposure and money to their sites. There would not be a YouTube if it weren't for alt media and alt entertainers. It wouldn't exist. It wasn't built by CNN and Kraft. There wouldn't be a Twitter if it weren't for regular people tweeting stuff, and then other people retweeting it. What ends up happening is you get primary reporting in the sense of somebody has just snapped a photo of something, put it on a hashtag, now it's trending, and then other people with significant audiences begin reporting on it. So that within less than an hour, you've got everything's totally fleshed out. The old guard media couldn't do that. Not unless they got a chopper in the air and broadcast something live. You know, of course, with a 10-second delay, just in case someone said the wrong thing or did the wrong thing. I'm sure that some of these sites wish they could put a delay button on your uploads and your tweets and everything else to screen them and make sure that they're actually proper. They're right think, not wrong think. So Twitter is now saying, you know, our rules, it's not that so much that we care about our rules, because, you know, they're not talking about people who are breaking the rules on Twitter itself using a Twitter account. It's more about the principle of there are certain kinds of people that we don't want to give any platform at all. Don't you think that's a dangerous friggin' precedent to set for a site that's supposed to be totally open? It's social media. It's basically just an extension of every phone app that's used to communicate. It's like a better version of texting to a worldwide audience. That's what Twitter is. Don't you think it's kind of dangerous to say, yeah, we're going to start denying our platform's use to people simply based on something they expressed elsewhere, even if we can't necessarily verify it's from them? They've also gone on a de-verification streak lately, kicked a bunch of people off their platform, often with no real provocation. It seems to be if you complain about Twitter, you're more subject to getting kicked off Twitter. I wonder why that could possibly be. See, I wouldn't care, because it seems like notifying people of what I'm doing on like Gab and Minds really is more effective than the use of Twitter at this point. Despite the fact that the audience is so much larger, the participation rate for that audience size is lower. Twitter's becoming less and less effective as a means of communication. It's because it's got a less keyed-in audience. And by the way, the other problem is this. The other problem is simply, Twitter's doing the same thing YouTube did. YouTube looks at its site, says, aha, this 1/1,000,000th of 1% of content made by real people that happens to be kind of too offensive, we're going to target that shit. But the 10% of all uploaded content or whatever insane number that's actually just a bunch of spam, that we're going to sideline that. You know, it actually disrupts the site. It actually should bother people. It also drags our servers down because we have to host that shit. We're not too worried about it. We're worried about this person who, you know, they've got like, you know, 1488 in their username. We're going to focus on that instead. This small cast of people. That's what we're going to focus on. We're going to waste our time. You know, there's plenty of like, there's bum fights and crack smoking videos and, you know, people doing porn. We're going to ignore that. It's not important. This is so much more offensive. This person said something politically incorrect. Twitter's deciding to do the same thing. You realize how many bots are on Twitter? Everyone right now is still fixating on Russian bots. These tens of thousands of Russian accounts. Okay. Yeah, that's a small class of accounts from one nation. What about the many tens or hundreds of millions of spam accounts from everywhere else in the world? Oh, they exist. Yep, they're there. Some of them are propaganda bots. Some of them are meant to advertise some page that's, you know, going to give you a virus, cam girl stuff, everything else under the sun. Hey, buy our good or service. You know, it's free advertising. Why not make a bot? Oh, we obtained an email list through, you know, basically phishers or something. Here's the email list. Sign it up for a bunch of accounts. We'll automate that process, and we'll start spitting this link out all over Twitter. It'll be great. We'll hijack every hashtag. And then, of course, it takes them a long time to get rid of all those spam accounts. If they're designed properly, I would assume. If they go too generic, it'd probably get caught quickly, and then it'd be up shit creek without a paddle. That happens all the time. I've had plenty of bot accounts trying to reply to and retweet my content with some random generic comment, like, oh, I like this, and it's like it's got a bunch of links to like some cam site. This happens all the time to me, and you know, my audience on Twitter it's decent in size, but it's not exactly gargantuan. I can't imagine how much spam is going through, you know, PewDiePie's Twitter handle or something. I'm surprised somebody like that can even get verified at this point. It's like, why even bother? It's like there are YouTubers, I can see on my subs list, there are YouTubers with well over 100,000 subs that apparently never bothered to achieve verification. I'm starting to wonder if there are plenty of people on Twitter who don't even want their verification anymore. That would be the other thing. All of these other users have a responsibility. Why don't you just give up your little blue check mark that doesn't really matter anyway? Just give it up all en masse in solidarity with free speech. That'd be a good thing. What we need is an internet-wide awakening. We need people on all parts of the political spectrum to say, okay, enough is enough. We get it. You're all, you know, trying to bilk us out of more money. But the witch hunt side of it is no longer because, you know, we're gonna stop being offended, and people can speak if they want. We'll debate them, or, you know, maybe we don't bother. We're just like, you know, bye. Just fucking ignore them, which is usually the best response. I can remember when the government and teachers and everyone else was like, oh, if someone tries to cyberbully you, you should just ignore them like you would a real bully. Which, you know, in real life it doesn't work quite so well. You might get, you know, hammered in the back of the head with a brick, but online, yeah, it works pretty well. That used to be the main advice. Then they started saying, oh no, you should be very offended and you should turn them into the police. Report them, report them, report them. It is necessary. We must cleanse ourselves of the filth. You know, most trolls, most of the people that are going to actually say like Nazi stuff, they don't even believe in it. Number one, they're trying to yank your chain. And number two, make another account. Because they don't have a large audience. They don't fucking care. They're trolls. So it's not going to go away. In fact, indeed, all Twitter is doing in the minds of people who have like ethno-nationalistic beliefs is verifying what they already believed. See, you may think that it's totally wrong. You're like, no, you're not oppressed. You can do whatever you want. You know, no one's trying to oppress white people or men or whatever. Yeah, but you're verifying in their minds that that's a lie because they're getting kicked off a platform for things they're not even saying on that platform at this point. Don't you see how that's going to mentally verify every belief that they have? Well, if you don't see that, then you're too dumb to be building strategies to actually cope with fringe groups. Because you'd end up, like, you'd try to stop a cult, and that cult pretty soon would be 10 times the size it currently is. That's what would happen. You've gotten people like me who just want, you know, freedom and to be left alone and to say what we want to say. You've got people like me. Like, most of what I do is just say, oh, something happened, this is news. Here's an occult video. Here's a book that I edited. That's what I do online, generally speaking. You've got people like me having to defend people who are actually ethno-nationalistic. I mean beyond, you know, just beyond a Spencerite. I mean people who are, you know, more out there. Because they're not doing anything physically violent, I believe in their right to speak. And then, of course, I get called a Nazi gatekeeper, something by Holt and all these others. See, it would be defamation if they declared that we were actually supremacists. So they prefer to just use guilt by association in hopes that we get kicked off too, because they're our competitors. I wish that I too was squirrely enough to make a bunch of totally flawed write-ups about my ideological opponents. But I choose not to do that. I've got a little bit more nobility than some of these people within the legacy media. That's the other thing. Stick to your guns. There are so many people. It's like, you know, I half expect them to say, well, Lionel Nation, he's kind of suspect. He might have secret identitarian beliefs, something. You know, what is it Satin and Silk? You know, the infamously they're black while supporting Trump. Therefore, it's something that liberals find weird, I guess. I'm surprised they haven't tried to call them stormtroopers or something. We've gotten to that point in the moral panic. I'm thankful that I have the foresight to understand this moral panic will go away. But how much damage are we going to do to the free open internet before we decide to solve this fucking problem? Because it's looking a lot like what was done to radio by the FCC in the 80s and 90s. It's looking a lot like the satanic panic, like the hippie acid panic, every other moral panic. And they all do incalculable cultural damage and take years to heal from. It brings innovation. It brings the death of the old, inevitably, and the rise of something new, like alt tech. You should join me on Minds. Links in the description. Look, every one of my videos has links to all of my other accounts that I use. Other than Daily Motion, I sort of abandoned that because it's a dead platform. VidMe and BitChute are so much better. It's like, why bother? You should join me on these platforms. You know, we never know what direction these larger sites are going to go in. Like, I could get kicked off Twitter. I don't really worry because I don't post anything weird other than, you know, jokes on there. But it could happen. They could change their TOS again at any time. YouTube's made it clear, yeah, we'll change it at a whim with very little forewarning. Facebook, you know, it's always tenuous at best when you're there. You can get kicked off with literally no reason. You can post absolutely nothing and suddenly get kicked off because someone decided maybe you were a Russian bot lying in wait. That's about all. Peace out.